Stand clear.
100% Wild Podcast.
So for all you listeners,
hello and welcome to
definitely not your favorite outdoor podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Jury Outdoors 100% Wild Podcast, powered by DeerCast. This is episode number 341. I am your relatively friendly host, Tim Chelsvik.
I'm your co-host, Matt Drury. Today, we have a special guest.
Singer-songwriter, country music legend, Chris Janson. He's also a Grand Ole Opry member.
And more importantly, he's a hunter. What's up, Chris?
Yes, I am. Most importantly, I'm a hunter, guys. Thank you for that intro. It's very kind of you. And, I'm really thrilled to be on this podcast. I don't do podcasts. And so when you asked me to do it, Matt, I said I would be glad to do it, especially with the Jury Outdoors. This is legacy for me. I'm a Missouri guy. This is how I grew up, and I'm proud to be here with you. Thank you.
I'm even more honored now that I know that because it was funny. He and I were sending messages back and forth trying to figure out a time. And he said 1 p.m. I said, okay. And then we talked about briefly, said something about tomorrow. And I thought he meant 1 p.m. tomorrow. He's like, hey, I'm on and ready. So we're scurrying. It's like just everybody's running around frantically. So you got us, you got me good there. I was like, all right, guys, we got to jump.
I appreciate you making the time today. It's my weeks get so nutty, and you wouldn't believe the stuff that gets piled on them. And so just finding the time to even go out and check deer cameras is like a treat for me, you know? So I appreciate you guys getting me on here.
So that's what you were doing when we were texting, right? You were out checking cameras. You said your son, Jesse, if anybody's ever seen any of Chris's shows, Jesse is a star of the show. And so he's ate up with the lifestyle, hunting, fishing, everything outdoors. So he just killed on that cold front, right?
Yeah, you would text me and you said the cold front's coming, and I said, "Are you going to get to hunt?" And I said, "Man, gosh, I wish." I mean, so you understand? Like he did, he smacked a really mature 10-point that we've been having eyes on for a long time, and the deer was on the definite decline. And that's the kind of deer that I think it's great if you can harvest one of those. I mean, that's like a great trophy, great honor. You know, that's a whole season right there. But he's a great hunter, great fisherman, great conservationist, and you know, to be 9 years old, he's living way above the most standards of normal 9-year-olds. He's just not a normal one. And all my kids are awesome, but he's the one who loves to hunt. He's obsessed with it. So every morning before school, and I fly in every night after a show, I come home in order to get up with Kelly, and we take the kids to school together. And in hunting season, it gets really tough because then I want to be in a deer stand. Of course, Jesse wants to be in a deer stand. And so he's gotten to where now we get up, we'll go hunting for a couple hours, and then we hunt in the school season, or we just have to hunt selective stands. And so I got them set where I can slip in and out of them without bumping deer, and then I'll take them to school, and then I'll go right back and get in a stand real quick. And then usually my day starts about noon to 1 o'clock. And so, as far as touring is concerned, then we'll head out and go get on a plane, and we'll go and work, and then get home late at night and get up, and that's kind of my routine. It's like I work, which I love my job. It's not even really work. It's music is so fun, but I work to provide for a great living for a family and to hunt. And and believe me, hunting is like the key for me.
Those are good reasons. And this guy hustles so hard. I mean, how many shows do you do in a year? Because it's basically every day you guys are flying somewhere new, right?
I do more than most. I mean, some people look at it two ways. They say, when you get to a level of like where my career is or where others are, with a very successful, lots of hits and things like that, they think, well, let's play less and work less. Dude, I'm the exact opposite. I remember a time when it was not so easy. So I didn't have hits at one time, and before Buy Me a Boat really kicked it off, I'd only had a couple minor things in the top 40 that nobody really knew unless you really knew. And I always said from the very beginning, if I can ever just get some hits and people will know my name and know my songs, I'm going to work everywhere that I can go as long as I want to play there and as long as that it makes sense. And so on average, I do like 120 shows a year, which is a lot. And again, most people at this level in the game, they choose not to do that. And that's okay. That's everybody's choice. But dude, if it pays good and people want me to come there, then why not come there? I've never understood why not, because at some point the sun doesn't shine as bright, and at some point the hay doesn't grow as tall.
Yeah.
And dude, no way. I'm gonna make that hay, cut that hay, stack that hay in the barn, and have a good time doing it, man. I mean, I really love my job, and I feel very blessed. It's more than just music to me as well. It's more than just touring to me. It's actually getting out there and being able to spread the message of what things that I believe in. And with the things I believe in, you don't have to be preachy, man. I just love my country. I love hunting, fishing, conservation, God, my family, my wife, and to put those morals into the world. And I think that's important. So that's like 50% of my mission.
Yeah. And you know what? The shows, they come off. It's so fun. It's a show. It's worth every dollar you put down, because it's nonstop entertainment from the time he gets on to the time he gets off. And it's a good time. So one of the things I want to talk to you about, you were just out in Colorado not too long ago with John Paul and Johnny Morris and the gang elk hunting, right? And you killed a hell of a bull. There it is. So tell me about that, man. The relationship that you have with Johnny and JP, you guys have experienced a lot of good outdoor memories, hunting, fishing, whatever. They love you. They love your family. Jesse's always there with you guys. What was that experience out there in Colorado like? Because that was a hell of a bull.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So that's him laying on the back there. And actually that picture right behind my shoulder, that's a picture of a bull from 2 years ago. And we're all up in there. It's kind of hard to see, but I'm in my man room right now where I keep a lot of my trophies and mounts and stuff. But so what was it like? Okay, so I flew out. And so first let me preface with saying this. I don't take normal hunting trips like normal people. Most people take off time and they go, okay, I'm taking 7 days or whatever it is, and I'm going to do this. And all I'm going to do is hunt and go to camp. Well, for me, I love to work. And also I'm a lot like Johnny Morris, and he's a lot like me in the regard that we get stir crazy after about 5 minutes somewhere where we're not at home doing our job. I mean, that is, if you know him, that's true. And so I always book shows around the elk camp. That way I'll fly in and out of elk camp every night. So I really just hunt mornings and then early afternoons usually. But, again, when you got work, you can't miss that. So that's just kind of part of it, and especially in my career is thriving. So there's not 1 second to just waste. But I get out there, I flew out early. We got there the early afternoon. We went out and we had like 3 close encounters with mega bulls, and it was great, of course, bow only. And so we're out there, and when you're a bow hunter, it's like you can only get so close, and that was it. So they were just always just a little bit out of range. So I got up the next morning, and we got out. I got up to 12,000 feet altitude. Whew. And I was on this bull, and he was up on this mountain range, and I could hear him up there even way above me. And so Jesse and my guide Pat sat down behind us, and they were probably 100 200 yards back, and I took off hiking up the mountain. Well, rocks are sliding. It's crazy, man. It's super steep in Colorado, and they were cow calling just very lightly in the back, kind of like you would do turkeys. And I could hear the bull kind of coming down and moving rocks at his feet. So I said, okay, great. So I stopped behind a tree, and literally as I saw him coming, I'm starting to draw my bow back, and here goes a pile of mule deer that I had never saw were bedded up next to me. And of course they spooked the bull, and that was over. So then I'm, after you hike that far, it's so deflating. And really a mile away, pretty much. I mean, really thinking about it, by the way the crow flies across the canyons, there's tons of elk, but there's one elk that's solely bugling. It's the closest one around. So I hiked all the way back down the hill, and we made it all the way around. It took probably 45 minutes to get around to this other mountain range or whatever. And there was a bull bugling on top of the mountain, the same one. Turns out we took a 2-hour hike. We got all the way up there, 9,500 elevation. I mean, from the very bottom. He's laying down. I get to 25 yards. And wind is in my favor. His back is to me. He's facing the other way. And I get 25 yards, and I draw at 25 yards, and a cow goes down the hill, and he got up out of his bed and took off before I could release an arrow.
Brutal.
And dude, again, I hit my knees and I'm deflated. Now that's a long story, but you got to hear this to know how great it is. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like really? So we're on top of this saddle, And I noticed out the corner of my eye, and Jesse and Pat are just up this way, about 50 yards, kind of in the sagebrush. And some cows start rolling off the top of the mountain above us. So I'm thinking, all right, okay. So they come down and they're kind of laying on the side in the shade, and they start kind of bedding up on the side of this mountain range. And I thought, well, there's surely probably a bull somewhere around. Mm-hmm. He's just not making any noise, you know. He's probably staging down here. So I told them, I said, I'm going to hop off the side of this mountain that I just climbed up to. So I'm going to hop off the other side where he just ran. I'm going to walk down halfway, and then I'm going to kind of skirt it like this all the way around. And I'm glad I did, because I started skirting through this aspen grove, and I came up on a lone bull, sure enough, by himself. And he was staging downwind of those cows up on top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And so there's trees in between he and I, just like this, right? So I just crouched down, and I just walked right symmetrically with the trees, and I got to 50 yards, 51 exactly. I think he knew what I was, but he knew something was there, but he didn't really care, and he was so rutted up. So I dropped to my knees, I drew back, dialed up to 51 yards, couldn't get a shot. Tree limb hanging like this. So I stood up, tree limb hanging like this. So I crouched down like a football player getting ready to hike a ball for real. I'd never done this before, never even practiced this shot. I crouched down, drew back 51 yards through a V in a tree, just like this. No. Right through it.
Laced it.
Double lungs, 15 feet down for the count. And my elk season was over in day one, and theoretically day two, but really day one of everybody's hunt. And we were done by 11:30, and so the pressure was off. So we trout fished all week, but it was really an amazing thing. And you're right, the memories made with Johnny and JP from Bass Pro, and the whole crew was great. Rob Keck was out there with us.
Oh, nice! That's a hell of a camp.
Yeah, it was a great camp. My wife was there. Really wonderful, and we traveled together. So anyway, that's a drawn out story, but you had to hear it all to know the highs and lows of it. And with hunting, for me, it's those highs and lows are what make it so much more valuable. Whenever you finally harvest an animal, it's like, man, you're really doing something. You know, you're taking it all the way back to the native roots of how we all came up and where we really come from. You know, and with a bow, I think that's saying something, no matter who you are. I mean, that taking a shot like that is really awesome.
It's a great feeling.
There's something about like the energy you're putting it, you're putting that energy into the arrow with the draw cycle, and that same energy is what's killing that. And it's so much more of an intimate experience than obviously shooting one with a gun is still awesome, but to have put that energy in to kill that animal, that's unreal. Chris, I'm curious, because there's so much pressure, because your time is so valuable, what was your practice like? Because you got one glimpse of an opportunity, you took it and you nailed the shot, but what distances were you practicing at? What was your draw weight, all that kind of setup stuff?
Yeah, so I shoot some, I have several different bows set up, and I got some old bows that I still shoot. Like, I just got a new blackout bow though, the Bass Pro branded one, and it was great. By the way, great bow and wonderful. JP kind of got me. He's like, you need to get this one. You need to put this on it. And he's like a bow master.
He is.
John Paul Morris. And so I got the bow, and I practiced up until like 100 yards. I mean, I take some long distance Viking type shots, I call them.
Yeah.
But you got to do that, because then it kind of trains your eye to just, and your wits to just kind of go with it. But I'm very cautious bow hunter. I think like everybody probably, I don't just take shots to take them. Mm-hmm. If it's not great, then I'm not going to do it. And no matter if it's 5 steps in front of me, if it's not right, I'm just not going to do it. And so I practice enough to feel comfortable. I don't over practice. I'm not an overshooter. I'm not a guy who goes out here and shoots his bow every single day. Mm-hmm. Some people are for that. Some people are not. I'm definitely not. Number one, my arm gets tired. When you're drawing 65 to 70 pounds, for me, that's pretty much max. And I think that's a pretty middle of the road weight. But, your arm gets tired, your arms get shaky, and I just shoot until I feel comfortable. And then I say, okay, let's go. And then God's got the rest. I mean, that's really it. And I pray when I'm hunting, guys, not to be preachy, but I pray my way through every hunt. And I mean, like, seriously talking to the Lord, like, okay, God, I need you to really help me here. Please give me some accuracy. Please let me be steady, because I'm not going to lie, dude, I get shook up, like, for real. I mean, I missed a giant whitetail back in the velvet season here in Tennessee that I'm still sick about because I got shook up and I didn't pray before it. I just went out there cocky, like, I got this. I can shoot 60 yards, no problem. I've done this before, you know. And then you fling one out there, and the deer jumps the arrow and jumps the string, and then you just sit there all depressed, and and then it hits you immediately. You forgot to talk to the Lord all the way through it. And man, if you're not doing that, I mean, good luck, because if you don't, I always tell people, if you don't think God's got his hands all over what you're doing out there with his creation, you're sadly wrong. I mean, those are his animals. This is his earth, and we're just here to use the privilege of it, you know?
Do you get any pushback just because of kind of the profile, the level that you're at, and you're also representing these traditional values that are often under attack nowadays? Like, do you get pushback? Do you get people saying, "Hey, Chris, you gotta tone it back with the God stuff"?
No. I had one person tell me that one time, and I just said what I just told you. I said, no, that's it. I mean, the bottom line is, I love Jesus Christ, and if without Jesus Christ, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, period. That's it. That's the first and foremost. I'm a believer. I'm a Christian. I'm proud of it. I have make no bones about it. Now, I'm also a sinner. You should know that. I tell people that every chance I get, because the minute somebody starts, "Oh, God bless you, brother," I run. I'm like, "Oh, God, I don't want to be around this person," you know, and I don't want to come off as that guy either. I'm just a normal dude who knows the Lord and has messed up enough times to know right from wrong. So that's the bottom line. Now, pushback, no. You know, it's interesting when you first get into the music business and you're starting a successful career. The first thing they tell you is, "Oh man, don't talk about this and don't talk about that, and maybe we shouldn't post a hunting picture." I'm like, to heck with that, man. This is who I am. This is what I do. I do it with the best of intentions. I do it because I love it, and quite frankly, I believe in it. And I believe in conservation, conserving the land. And if, you know, for instance, with deer hunting, if we don't harvest a certain amount of deer, you're going to harvest them with your car. So I know enough people who have died in car accidents. I know enough people who have antlers go right through their windshields. I've been that guy. Like, there's so many reasons that I love hunting and fishing that just go so much further than people would even think about. So it doesn't really come up with me. If it does, I just dismiss it. You know, I think that in life, no matter what career path you take, you're always going to have haters from this way and lovers from this way, and vice versa. You just be yourself, you be honest, and you treat others as you want to be treated. And people usually respect that and treat you well back. And that's where I find myself now. You know, I may have a problem this afternoon. I hope I don't. But the point is that I also don't believe in pushing things that we love down people's throat, right? So I love hunting and fishing. There's plenty of people who don't, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. I got plenty of friends who are grossed out by the sight of me holding the deer. So you know what? I don't shove that down there. I don't shove that down their social media. I don't push that upon them. I respect that. That's just common, you know, respect for your fellow man and woman. And as I want to be respected as a hunter and a father and a Christian and a conservationist and all the things that I love and an American, I respect others too for whatever they believe. And I just do me, you know, and I always try to encourage other hunters and other outdoorsmen. Just do you. Just be you, man. If you love it so much, you don't have to talk about it so much. You show it. You show it through example. And
go ahead. Speaking of that, I was going to say that the conservation side and kind of showing your colors, the Bass Pro Chris Janson branded hat, doesn't a certain percentage of the sales for that go straight to conservation as well, right?
Like literally, there's only a little tiny portion that goes back just to refund making more hats.
Yeah.
Like over 3/4 of it goes straight into conservation. And again, yes, walk it like you talk it, but also talk it like you walk it in certain aspects. But man, you know, leading by example is so important. That's what I was trying to say, like with the hunting thing, and for anybody who may take flack here or there for whatever it may be, hunting or just, you know, what you believe in or things like that. You just do it with a humility and a humble heart. And that's how you win. In my opinion, that's how you win in life. Do it humbly. You don't have to force things to people. They'll understand if you say it nicely. With my conservation hat that Johnny and I partnered on, man, we give back we started in the state of Tennessee. So we give back to Hunters for the Hungry, which is an amazing organization through the Wildlife Federation. And we have raised so much funds for that. And so any wild harvested game, the hats are a big part of paying for that to be processed, given out for free to those who need it. Tennessee Riverkeeper, which keeps the rivers clean around here, starting in Tennessee. And then, of course, one of my favorites is Harpeth Conservancy, because I've got a lot of love for the Harpeth River right here in Franklin, Tennessee, and Nashville, Tennessee. And so a lot of it goes to cleaning up that and keeping that. It's called the Conservancy, so conserving the great outdoors. And the word conservation, I've always said this, is like, it goes so much further for me. Most people just say conservation, they think hunt, fish, done. Yeah. No, it's trees, it's prescribed burns, it's picking up trash. I mean, if you want to be a conservationist, pick up a piece of trash sometime. I mean, it's like, just and continuing the legacy with our youth and kids, and hopefully providing a great message for the outdoors, man. And that message is keeping our earth clean. It's important. Keeping our rivers clean, keeping our woods clean, keeping our roadways clean. All of that factors in to good hunting and fishing. So I've always kind of looked at it that way. And as I've grown through the years as a man, I realize how much more important it is, and as a father. And so I try to walk it like I talk it,
I started picking up trash when I was a kid. I found a Milli Vanilli cassette on the street. And
is this shtick?
It's true. It was also trash. And it played. I also have a nonprofit. It's called the Hungry Hunters, and it's for hunters who aren't that good.
It's you and I.
At killing
just
things.
2 people in it. It's you and I.
Yeah, Matt and I are the founding members.
You said the highs, and you're talking about the highs and the lows. So you have some lows in hunting, and it makes the highs that much higher. We're like Willie Nelson high. If we catch up to something this year, we're going to be like Snoop Dogg meets Willie Nelson high. We're going to be that excited.
Me too.
We've had a rough go.
Me too. I love it. I live for this stuff, man. I really do. I mean, it goes so much deeper for me. It's a legacy thing for me. Mm-hmm. Like, I grew up around public land stuff, and I grew up watching Drury Outdoors VHS tapes. And so that was like, a lot of times at Christmas time, that's all I would ask for, by the way, was Drury Outdoors tapes and Bow Madness and stuff like that. It was like, that was my deal. And I remember when dude, great story here is like when I remember when I first bought my very first bow. It was a Bow Madness,
nice.
Original PSC.
Yeah.
And it was when the tree stand pattern came out, and I was like, I'm so balling. And I felt so rich. And that was the first thing I bought with some of my first music success money. So
that was an awesome bow too. I mean, that was a good shooting bow.
Great bow.
Yeah. So Chris, originally he's from Perryville, Missouri, right? That's maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes from where Mark, Terry, myself, where we all grew up in Bloomsdale, Missouri. So we're originally all from a very small town. Yeah, a bunch of that's right, a bunch of hillbillies. But it's cool to kind of revisit and go back to those stories, because I know, like Willa, my mom, she used to, take all the orders, like all the phone calls and the call-in orders and all that stuff. She'd work, every day there in the office, and she's like, man, I feel like I remember Chris's name coming through, ordering the the VHS and the DVDs and all that stuff. So
1,000%, I have them all still.
Well, the diehards. That's
awesome.
It's crazy. We met. I'm sure you met Mark somewhere along the way, probably a long time ago, or exchanged texts. But you and I had a chance to meet in person at JP's wedding last year, and it was cool because we were on the same. I was walking out of a room, and Chris like, "Hey, Matt," and I'm like, "Hey, Chris." Like, it's like you know each other, but you don't.
Unreal.
It's a cool thing. So
what's it like knowing Matt Drury?
Yeah, well,
well, honestly, it's really wonderful. I mean, if you I know you're messing with him, but I'm going to tell you seriously, like, if you knew what kind of I'm not a fan of much things. Let me just say that. If you knew what kind of a fan I was of Drury Outdoors, and just, again, I use the word legacy a lot, but I live by it. So, it's such a legacy thing. The Drury Outdoors thing, everything is such a legacy piece. And it was a huge part of the fabric of my growing up. And it was a large part of why I am the hunter that I am today, and why I love it so much, and also why I bow hunt, because I was watching these guys. You guys are the OG bow hunters, man. I mean, Matt grew up with the two OG, like for real on film bow hunting guys.
Yeah.
And the guys who were first, really putting turkeys on film and really putting big bucks, not just bucks, but like real bucks, getting on camera and like real shooters. And I remember those early videos and stuff, like when they would knock down a 140. I mean, they were celebrating like it was a 300-inch deer.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, we did it, and that's how I feel.
That's how I feel.
That's how I feel too. And it's like that's a huge thing for me. So what's it like to know Matt? It's great. It's a great honor for me. It's a great honor to be, recognized by your family too. I mean, I really do appreciate what you guys have built. And I've not only been a customer, but I've been a fan for very many years. And, again, it's a large part of the fabric of who I am. If you went back to see me as a kid, I mean, this is pretty much what it looked like.
Well, those are kind words, and Mark and Terry have done a fantastic job of giving us all a legacy to look up to and try to reach those heights. I'm still trying to reach those heights from when they were shooting the 140s. Still trying to get to those days. Yeah, but it's very kind of you to say. And one thing I would like to say is like Johnny, JP, you, like all these type of people, they gravitate, Mark, Terry, they gravitate towards each other because they have these common interests in the outdoors and family and their morals and ethics and that, so you kind of gravitate, you see the people that seem to hook onto each other, and it's, it's really because the fabric's the same, right? Yeah. So no matter who you are. We
love America. I mean, it starts with loving your country. We love our country. We love our flag. We support our troops. I just call them the ground rule basics of being an American, just being a normal person in America. Like these are not hard things to love. This is the greatest country on earth. I'm so proud to be an American. And like, I don't know any other country really that gives you the freedom to hunt and fish and be a part of conservation in a way that America does.
Nope.
And so we have such a privilege, we have a privilege of a life that we get to live, especially as outdoorsmen, and to raise kids in the lifestyle, should you choose to do that. And so I just think it's such an honor. I mean, when I wake up every day, I think people look at me sometimes and they go, he's got to be putting on, it's like, it's not part of the show, man. It's not part of entertainment value or shock value. It's really the truth. I wake up and I go, wow. I woke up today winning. Number 2, my wife is hot. Great. Number 3, my kids are healthy. Number 4, when can I get a bow or a gun in my hand and get out there hunting? When can I get a fishing rod in my hand? And most importantly, when can I take somebody who has never been before?
Yeah.
And when can I take my kid, or when can I take a kid who's really wanting to get outdoors, man? I wanted to say that on this podcast too, because I know you guys are huge advocates for getting kids involved in the outdoors and things like that. It's like for people watching and listening to this, remember that the next generation of youth in America, the kids like Jesse and things, that is all we have to look forward to. That's all we have. Okay. This generation is all we have next to look forward to. So I'm not saying we should raise them right. I'm just saying that we should at least tell them about it, because if I wasn't told about it as a kid, I wouldn't be the hunter that I am today. And, we're in a position on this podcast to be such a voice for young conservation, young anglers and hunters and just outdoorsmen in general. Even if you don't like hunting and fishing, just getting in the outdoors and enjoying what God has given us here in this country, especially, it's really fantastic. And I think that's how we grow the next generation of anglers, hunters, fishermen, conservationists, et cetera, just teaching them. You have to school these. You got to school them. You got to let them know that we got it out here. Let's get after it.
Amen. You nailed it.
As long as they don't shoot my deer.
They could shoot every deer. I was just talking to Dad. I was like, I got all kinds of deer. I need a kid to come shoot.
Y'all, that's Jesse, man. Listen, Jesse knocks down the 10-point. He's like, I'm like, yeah, we're going to take a few days off now because it's my turn. He's like, yeah, cool. I'm hunting tomorrow.
That's your plan, Dad.
Dude,
here's what
Jesse's
we're doing.
got so much swagger, it's not even funny. You guys see this kid on stage. Well, you saw it. Yeah. At the Bass Pro event. That's right. We know you're short on time here, so we're going to let you go. We appreciate you taking the time to jump on. And, man, I hope we get to share deer camp real soon here.
I really do too. And I want to say in closing, thank you very much for your time and for letting me be on it. And like I said, I just have never really done many podcasts and stuff. Just wasn't really my thing. But I was hoping you would ask, and I'm glad you did, because I enjoy this, and it's just such a refreshing blessing to be able to talk to people with like-mindedness and people who appreciate the same values and the same things. And for those people out there who are watching this and listening to us, you made a good point, Matt, about not only conservation, hunting, fishing, and things of that nature, but just the normal moralistic values that people like us grew up with. And that's not to be preachy or anything or point fingers. That's just saying that I think we grew up in one of the best golden eras of America, and how blessed and privileged we were to grow up being able to run, Southeast Missouri and Midwest fields, man, looking for deer, chasing doves, chasing rabbits. That was a big thing when I was a kid. Yep. And like running beagles and just having that free living lifestyle. I always hope to continue to promote that lifestyle with people and just remind people how blessed we are when we wake up. If we leave this podcast with one thing today for watchers out there, man, just remember how blessed we are to wake up. If you get to, not everybody got to do that today. We woke up in freedom, and we have the privilege and luxury of living here. And it's just wonderful all the way around. And if you get to hunt and fish, that's just icing on the cake, if that's your thing. So I'm glad it's my thing.
No doubt, man. Well, we appreciate you, and you do such a great job for flying the flags, flying the colors for all of us outdoorsmen, and we just appreciate you. So good luck getting that deer in Tennessee, and let's share us a camp here soon.
Everybody come out and see us on tour, chrisjanson.com for all the tour dates. And of course, you guys are always welcome, that. So tell your family, hey, and thank you. And I love you guys and love the Drury team.
Love you, man.
Right,
thank you.
Chris.
All right. Have a good day.
See you guys.
See ya.
Thank you.
I don't know if anyone caught this, but Chris put hot wife in front of healthy kids.
I mean, that's pretty important.
I'm not going to disagree.
It's like a line from Ricky Bobby.
You got to have a hot wife.
Yeah.
Hey,
he's such a pleasure. That guy is so genuine in person. Is not like he was saying, he's not putting it on. Like, I've had a chance to meet him a few times now. Like, he is genuinely a nice guy, and he does a very good job of promoting the outdoor lifestyle. He's synonymous. His brand is synonymous with that Bass Pro hat, and that directly funds conservation. He's talking the talk and walking the walk, like he said.
Okay, so if there is a retail outlet that would reflect your hunting and outdoorsman prowess, what do you think it would be?
A retail outlet?
Yeah.
Is this supposed to be like how good I am? So like, okay, here's my skill set. Is there a name that goes with the skill set?
What level would you interpret it at?
Dollar General? Is that fair? How about you?
I'm thinking like maybe on a good season a Walmart.
I wish I was Bass Pro quality, but I can't get to Bass Pro Cabela's. Like, I'm stuck down there at Dollar General.
The tacky side of me wanted to ask Chris so badly, like, because you're who you are and you know who you do. Do you ever think about just walking into a Bass Pro or Cabela's and just taking a shopping cart and your arm on the shelf and walking down and just going do
yeah,
and just walking out and saying,
he's probably got a special Bass Pro card that
That's
one of one.
Yeah, I wouldn't know about that stuff.
Yeah,
like a Bass Pro, like
this and those guys love each other. Like Johnny, JP, Chris. Like there's a small group of those guys that do a lot of hunting and fishing together. And Austin Dillon, and they're all in this little group, and they're all diehard. They just love to be outdoors. That's it. Like fishing, anything that he sent me a picture. He was sitting behind a gator last week. Like anything. I was like, what are you doing? And he's behind a gator.
Killing gators.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. Very authentic. And I will say, man, his shows, like Randa is not a huge country fan. And so we went to the show when he was in town in St. Louis, and Mom and Dad, and my Aunt Nancy and Uncle Gene, and Randa at the end of it, she's like, this was one of the most entertaining shows I've ever seen.
I didn't realize how physical of a performer he was
Big
until I
time.
saw him in person. It's like
all over the
playing
stage.
like a kick drum.
I was going to say, he plays the drums. He's back there playing a Metallica, I think it was Enter Sandman or something. It was like, I mean, he was just going to town back there. Yeah. It was a fun show. So I would recommend if he's in a town near you, and he always is. He's like everywhere.
Tour dates on his website are all over the place.
Yeah. So, anyways, I can't thank him enough. I didn't realize he didn't do podcasts. I wouldn't have asked.
Well, now it sounds like he has a good taste in his mouth for podcasts.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That's the worst part about this gig is me trying to come up with like bothering people to come
coming on our show.
I get a lot of yes and then no follow up.
Yes.
Not going to name names, but several people close to us. But he was from the get go like, I'm in. Yeah, tell me when can we do it? So
that's us riding the coattails of Mark and Terry. The legacy that
you're
set.
Running shtick and making fun of me. What's it like to know after he was very gracious in his answer.
I know what you're doing there.
Yeah. He's but that you're right. I'm riding the coattails of Mark and Terry on a lot of things.
We all.
So. Anyways, we got some show standards, as you like to say.
Brandon Chapman asked us a question in the Rack Pack. He needs some help.
So the question is, proudly brought to you by Cold Steel, professional, proudly, I don't know, professional blades for real hunters. Get the Click and Cut hunting kit and have every blade you need for your next processing job in one handy case.
I use the Click and Cut hunting kit on the doe I killed.
Oh, Tim killed something.
Girl, it was awesome.
Well, okay. I'm real quick finishing something.
Yeah, no, just we'll just go to break.
Sorry, he was texting me and saying thank you. It was an honor. I was like, man, the honor was ours.
Just say, hey, we're still doing the show, buddy.
All right. So, question of the day is brought to you by Cold Steel, and it's from Brandon Chapman from the Rack Pack. He says, what are your favorite scents for creating a new mock scrape? All right, so like to just pee in a scrape. That has worked well for me in the years past. Aaron Bent's the one that's turned me onto that.
You're supposed to pee in it.
That's what I've done.
Man,
but turn your camera off if you you're pooping in them.
I've heard people say like you relieve yourself in a scrape. I've made a mess of a lot of scrape trees.
Shtick again. Okay.
Should I be serious now?
No. So the one thing that I have used with a lot of success is Buck Bomb has a scrape generator. That works really well. Now there's a certain time, like it's not like you put it out in May and you go to town on it. But right now, especially right now, is a perfect time. Get that scrape generator. They make like an aerosol can. Now, here's the trick to it.
Okay.
There's a way to turn it on and spray a little, and then there's a way to just
pull the pin.
Like a damn grenade. This happened to Scott and I. We put
frag out.
We put it out. It was actually, I think the one I put out was a doe and estrus last year, because they got doe and estrus, they got scrape generator, and they have like a dominant buck one. Sure. And I tried to get it to go. And then all of a sudden it just depressed, and I had it, and then it fell over on facing us. So like we're filming all this, you got footage of us like screaming and running everywhere.
I smell like wee wee.
But there were there was a buck came right to the thing, a younger buck, but came right out. We barely got settled.
What happened?
Came right out to us.
I always wonder what a deer thinks when because I've popped the pin and like thrown it from my tree stand, and I wonder like when a deer walks into the scent cloud, do they think
like what? There was a real orgy here.
Really had to
go. But be a good outdoorsman and pick the can up when you leave. Okay,
definitely.
You can't leave it.
Ugh.
So,
did you see my response to this question in the Rack Pack?
I didn't.
I said Uncle TK's Wonder Wee Wee.
I did see that.
Oh, I was giggling. Beth was like, what are you laughing at?
It's only funny to you, Tim.
I made a joke about pee.
Never gets old, though.
As part of my job. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's scrapes starting to open up in the timber. Now, I did a little cruise through one of my properties yesterday and found a new one and hung a camera on it. Already got deer showing up on it.
Scott found one at our new lease and hung a camera on it last week, and we had deer hitting it. And we had yesterday morning at 7:30, one of the shooters, I think he's a 5-year-old. It's a new lease, so we're not really sure, but he's he's one of those deer that if it wasn't a lease and I didn't, and you had a bunch of acreage, you'd let him go because he would be sure thing a booner next year. Just a really, really nice deer. He kind of reminds me of the deer Forrest killed a little bit last year, Junkie, over in Illinois. But anyways, if I see him, I'm killing him.
Do it.
But I got to see him. We couldn't hunt that night because wind was going right to where he went.
Sure.
Of course.
Sure.
And he didn't come back out on camera, but who knows where he stepped out at.
Yeah. Last week, I don't know if we had a show since I hunted, but I shot me a raccoon. So that was fun.
Yep.
And then I killed a doe Saturday night, which was all. She was starting to, I didn't plan on shooting a doe.
Yeah.
But she was one of those that got a little too wide. She was stomping a little bit and posturing her head. And I was like, I think you got to go. So it felt good to let an arrow.
I tried that. I thought I need to shoot. I need some practice.
A warm up.
Need to fill the freezer with something.
Yeah.
And I shot low. Right under. I suck. I'm just
but it's it's good to get some shots under your belt.
Yeah.
And just again, it never ceases to amaze me that first deer of the year when you've got your sight pin on the deer, you're like, oh, I'm doing it. Like this is deer hunting.
That was the feeling because it's been a while, as Aaron Lewis says. And the result was as depressing as the song.
This deer I shot was the first time I haven't had a full pass through, and I don't know how many deer. She was hard quartering away, so I put I put the arrow right behind her back leg, and just the way aimed to exit.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because there was just a little bit of the rear of the arrow sticking out. So the lighted knock was in her. I saw her run off. There's maybe 3 or 4 inches still showing, and I was like, I don't think I got a pass through, and I don't know if there's going to be a blood trail on that deer. So I got down at dark, and sure enough, there was no blood trail. And she crashed in the creek, but that arrow went from right behind her back leg to the off shoulder, punched through the rib cage, but did not exit the skin. And I'd never had just enough energy to just get lodged under between the skin and the rib cage.
Yeah.
But it got everything. It got guts, it got liver, it got lungs, it got heart, and then out.
Man, how hard was she quartering?
Hard. I'll show you. I'll show you the video.
That's a lot. That's everything.
It was. I was like, wow, it was a good shot.
Now I know.
But when I saw her,
wow, boy, I'm good.
Thank you. That was the implication. I'm glad you said it out loud for me.
Boy, I'm bad.
What I was not looking forward to was opening her up.
Oh sure. Because then you got to field dress her.
But the crazy thing was, I don't know if I somehow magically missed all the gutty works. But there was no sepsis, there was no gut material in her gut cavity.
That smells brutal.
Well, especially, it was kind of,
yeah.
It was a little cold Saturday night, but not cold enough to knock down the stink.
Yeah.
But she really wasn't bad.
Well, congrats, man.
Thank you.
On the board.
Put some meat in the freezer.
There you go.
Okay, let's jump into the wildlife word, and it's brought to you by Tracker Off-Road. Whether it's chores around your property or going to retrieve your deer, Tracker Off-Road makes a side-by-side that's right for you.
The electric one is the bomb. That's all. It is so handy. Now, if you got a large property, you're going a long, long ways. It does really good. It goes a far ways, but maybe you'd go for the side-by-side or the ATV. The electric buggy is so quiet, and it's got a ton of power. Once you get used to riding around in one, you're like,
I can get used to
why
this.
am I walking anywhere?
Well, the other thing
just ride around the neighborhood, the backyard.
A modification you could use is putting a gas generator in the tail, in the bed of it. And it would just charge itself as it goes.
Well, then it's loud. So, the whole point is to get rid of the sound, I think. What do I know?
I'm just coming up with ideas. Gas-powered side-by-side. Okay.
They make those, but you actually just put gas in the side-by-side.
Someone's listening, and they're like, that guy's an idiot.
These guys suck. No, they tuned out as soon as Chris jumped off. All right, keep
There's
going.
Nothing redeeming. Okay, we're going to get cultural here. American Indians use this naturally occurring ingredient to make bread.
Yeast?
Is it, you're jumping ahead, brother.
Sorry.
A, white acorns. B, small stones from a whitetail's rumen. C, ground up whitetail antlers, or D, fingernail clippings of hapless settlers? Give me the nails.
That's racist, Tim.
Is it?
I'm going to go with A, white acorns.
Okay, Chris. Oh, he's not there. A is right.
A.
Nice job. Hey, must be the money.
Which we get none of.
That's a rap song, by the
Yes.
way, if you're not
By
familiar
the Nelly.
with
Terry loves Nelly, by the way. You would never know it. Terry's a big Nelly fan.
He's a Renaissance
Loves
man.
Hot in Here. Her. Anytime Nelly comes out, he's like, man, that was so ahead of its time.
You know, he heard that somewhere and he just picked it up, like a Rolling Stone interview back in 2002.
Really, really ahead of its time. Oh, Nelly.
All right. Well, Zach Mart is ahead of his time. He chimed in on the Rack Pack and said, what he loves about the show is that the guests always have different valuable perspectives. Matt and Tim
guests
are both honest about their style of hunting and how it relates to most hunters today.
I see. Thank you, Zach.
It's kind.
The valuable aspect was with the guests.
Of course.
Ours was, thanks for being honest.
We're under no delusions here.
That's right. All right, last piece for the day. We'll let you guys go. We're going to welcome some new Rack Pack members over on Facebook, the private Facebook group,
Very
100%
private.
Wild Rack Pack. All right, every week, Tim gives me a list of names. I read them, I butcher them, and there's always a fake one I got to sniff out. We got River Ferguson.
River.
Peyton Mattis, Kyle Wheeler, Ben Hines, Corey Cameron, Ian Steinmeier, Scott Thorpe, related to Jim probably, Scott Schroeder, Benjamin Wynant. How would you say that one?
Yeah, probably Wynant.
Flinch, Miss and Curse. Flinch, Miss and Curse. Flinch, Miss, and or Curse.
I think that's what you were doing this past weekend. Flinch.
I didn't flinch. I just suck. I didn't flinch. I felt like I was calm. I was calm. I know I was calm. I was like, that was like the 11th doe we saw. Yeah. That's why I was going to shoot her. I'm like, all right, one of these has got to go.
The parade has got to end here.
She was the last straw that broke the camel's back, turns out.
Not so much.
I can't hit anything. She was at 32. I had it at 30. I shot low and I missed her. Low.
Yeah.
Missed the vitals low.
Well, I had a pack of does walk through last night, and I really thought I was going to get a chance to take another one. And like they just had to walk 4 or 5 steps out past a cedar tree to be in a shooting lane. They'd been on this trajectory. They'd be at 18 yards. I was like, I got all the cameras going. I was like, cool.
Money.
Yeah.
Must be the money.
They decide to take a right and go up the ridge completely, no shot, complete coverage up there.
Didn't get the memo.
Didn't read the script, and I was just shaking. Like,
really?
Because I still get excited by shooting does. It's still such a thrill for me, and so to even come close was fun.
Maybe if I ever shoot one again, I'll know what that feels like.
To report back.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah, it is a big rush for me. I'm glad.
All right. So we had a huge cold front, October wind, DeerCast saying great whole time. We're going to hit a little bit of a period here, dark of the moon, but we're going to get another cold front in a couple days. And then what I'm getting at, we're cooking up something special for the rut. I'm not going to give away the details just yet, but we got a special series coming up for the rut. It's going to be good.
Can't wait to see.
It's going to be
huge.
All right. That's a deep tease.
All right. Well, make sure you stick around, folks. If you haven't shared the show, please do so. We love it.
Subscribe, share, leave us a comment.
Give us reviews.
Give us a 5-star rating.
On Spotify, you can actually leave specific comments for individual episodes. And every now and again, I will go in and I will look at them. So if you want to ask us a question or leave us something particular about one particular episode, you can do that on Spotify.
All right. I think that's it for today, Tim.
I got nothing more.
All right. Until next time, be safe.
Bye.
Peace out.
DeerCast is now supercharged with maps. Get ahead of your game with killer new features like live Doppler radar, wind check out to 5 days, virtual rain gauges, GPS path tracking, and more. Plus, get our 14-day revolutionary DeerCast prediction and access to DeerCast Track. Prep, predict, and pursue with DeerCast.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV is brought to you by DeerCast. Prep, predict, and pursue your target buck.